Hillary Clinton has made a comeback in a sense. I feel like she has been largely out of the general public's eye after her presidential run.
I think everybody should testify. Look,
including the former prince.
I think everybody should testify who is asked to testify. I just want it to be fair. I want everybody treated the same way. We have nothing to hide. We have called for the full release of these files repeatedly. We think sunlight is the best disinfectant. It's so obvious, and they keep trying to divert. Look at this shiny object. We're going to have the Clintons, even Hillary Clinton, who never met the guy. We're going to have her there.
She goes in to be deposed in March of this year, and an hour into the deposition, all hell breaks loose. A Republican representative, Lauren Boebert, she takes a picture of Hillary Clinton in the deposition room and then leaks it to social media. Oh. And that's probably the clips that you've seen on social media where she says, "I'm finished with this. If you're all gonna do that, I'm finished. You can hold me in contempt until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior." And she storms out.
Mm-hmm. There are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying. Can you please explain how that
I'm done with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So I would like to understand how that's permissible.
Before the hearing was...
It doesn't matter. We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah,
So
well.
I would like to take a break at this moment.
Yeah,
I'd like to have a conversation.
done for now.
Go off the record. Go off the record.
The people that are questioning her are House committee representatives. They're not attorneys. Hillary Clinton is an attorney. Mm-hmm. And the way that she's able to shut down questions, the way that she's able to just, I don't even know what her attorneys were doing in there because she was doing everything. She is sharp as a tack, whether you like her, you don't like her, you have your opinions on her. She was fully there.
I am so tired of answering that question. If you have one scintilla of evidence to the contrary, put it forward. I have never been on his island.
In the whole deposition, she's like, "Why are you asking me? Go ask Bill." Mm-hmm. "Why are you asking me? Ask Bill. Ask my husband, Bill. He'll probably know. I don't know anything."
He'll have to answer that. You'll have a chance to talk to him tomorrow.
You subpoenaed him. He's going to be here tomorrow. You're going to have a chance to question him tomorrow. Well, you certainly can ask him.
Okay.
But I will say overall, there is nothing illuminating from her deposition. Truly, I don't think that Hillary Clinton has any sort of connection with Epstein. If anything, I think that Lauren Boebert is the one that gets the most hate in this whole deposition. She just was asking a lot of weird stuff. She kind of comes out of this deposition as the one that did not perform the best. This is going to be the first time a former U.S. president has testified to a congressional panel since Gerald Ford in 1983. He says, this is Bill Clinton. He's sitting there and
First of all, good morning and welcome to all of you to our hometown. I appreciate you coming here. I'm here today basically for two reasons. First of all, I love my country and the Constitution, and I believe America was built on the idea that no one is above the law, especially presidents, and that we should all live by the same set of rules shaped by the Constitution. Democracy requires every person to play their part, and I hope that by being here today, we can bring ourselves a little further away from the brink and back to being a country where we can disagree civilly and search for the truth and justice. The second reason I'm here is that the girls and women whose lives Jeffrey Epstein destroyed deserve not just justice, but healing. They've been waiting too long for both.
He states that he was only briefly acquainted with Jeffrey Epstein and it ended years before his crimes even came to light. So this is pre-2008. He never witnessed anything in their limited interactions, but he wants to help the DOJ. He wants to help the House committee to make sure that they can all prevent something like this from happening again. He also mentions that his wife, Hillary Clinton, should not have to answer to anybody. Basically, in more eloquent words, he states that she's got nothing to do with Epstein. However, quote,
on the other hand, I do think you should be talking to me. I think you should have called me. I did take those plane trips with him, and you have a right to ask those questions. So I'm glad to be here, and I understand what the oath is. I have to be honest with you. Be 80 years old if I lived on my next birthday. I don't remember everything that happened 24 years ago, but I do remember some things. And I will tell you what I remember as best I can.
Have you ever lied in a deposition?
No.
Have you ever lied while under oath?
No.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
How did he meet Epstein? Former President Bill Clinton states that he met him through Larry Summers, who was the head of Harvard at the time. Okay, we hear about Larry Summers way too damn often, okay? He was the Secretary of Treasury during Clinton's administration, Larry Summers. So everybody's connected through Larry fucking Summers. Larry Summers is like, hey, Bill, you should meet this donor. He just gave Harvard $10 million for brain research. He's information hungry. You would love talking to him. Like, he loves to talk about economics, politics. Oh, and here's the cherry on top. You just got out of the White House. You're trying to start your own foundation, the Clinton Foundation. You're trying to cure AIDS. You're trying to do all this stuff. He's got a massive jet and he can fly you around, you and your entire Secret Service detail, because you can't fly by yourself these days because, you know, you just got out of the White House. And he can help you set up your nonprofit to provide life-saving AIDS medications to as many people around the world as possible. And because you just got out of the White House, it hadn't been funded yet. So that's great.
I thought Mr. Epstein was an interesting man, but I didn't think he was really interested in what I was doing. That is, he asked all these questions. He did ask about economics and politics, as he said he would. And he never asked me anything untoward. It's just that I thought I had done what I promised to do, and he had done what he promised to do. And I thought I've always, over the years, with these donors, tried not to overstay my welcome. I thought that we'd done enough, and then it's time to start working with other people.
Bill Clinton, interestingly, describes Epstein as a vacuum cleaner.
How would you describe the substance of your conversations with Jeffrey Epstein during the many hours that you spent together on the aircraft?
Well, at first, he really seemed to be like a vacuum cleaner, like he really wanted information. There was nothing overtly manipulative about it. He wanted to know, you know, what did I think of derivatives trading? Did I think that the stock market was properly regulated, or did it need more? And it was great for the first, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 conversations. But I could tell that it was like, you guys are in politics. Don't you ever feel like sometimes somebody's talking to you and then they're just checking the box and they got to go do something else and be somebody else? That's the way I felt.
Which is kind of alarming. The House committee wants to know if perhaps Epstein was trying to get specific information out of Bill Clinton. That would be a huge concern for national security if, let's say, a trafficker has blackmail against very well-connected, politically one of the most powerful people on the planet. Mm-hmm. What could happen then? But they ask, was he ever trying to monetize the relationship, to your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, he never did.
Did Jeffrey Epstein ever inform or represent to you that he was working with any intelligence service of any nation, including the United States? No. But they show him a picture of a man named Marius Robert, whom Clinton says he doesn't know who that person is. He's like, I've never seen this person in my life. I don't know who Marius Robert is. But they're like, what about the passport photo? He's shown a picture of a passport. They're like, the passport name is Marius Robert. You don't know Marius Robert, but who does the picture look like?
It looks like Jeffrey Epstein.
They explain, the reason I ask you about this specifically is because I do believe that Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence operative. So this was a passport that was actually entered and released by the DOJ. It was found in his safe, if you will. So it's an alias. The reason I ask you that is, given your nature and position, I'm wondering if you were essentially targeted by a honeypot operation and or by intelligence to gather information. Bill Clinton smiles.
Is there a question?
His deposition, Bill Clinton, he's asked why President Trump ignored other prominent figures in his circle, such as Howard Lutnick, who have had close ties with Epstein. This is an opinion question, because the House committee is asking Bill Clinton, why do you think President Trump is ignoring other people in his circle, prominent figures such as Howard Lutnick, who have had close ties with Epstein? How is he supposed to know what Trump is thinking? This is not a question that Bill Clinton can answer. This is an opinion question. They're not here to give opinions. And other times where they're asked opinion questions that they don't want to answer, their attorneys step in, Bill Clinton steps in, Hillary Clinton is like, I'm not here for speculation. I'm here for facts. Bill Clinton says,
Lutnick runs a big company and has made a lot of money and has supported him strongly. I don't think he believes that he's done anything bad enough I think he thinks he took his family to the island and he couldn't have done anything wrong. That's what I think he thinks. But speculating I'm doing what I have no business doing.
One thing that a lot of Democrats who would typically take Bill Clinton's side, they're saying, hold on, it's very uncomfortable that he's almost giving Trump outs. It's the same thing that Ghislaine Maxwell did last year in her DOJ interview with Todd Blanche, who
I never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
So then the deposition heads into the flights, and it's been confirmed, and it's very, apparent that Bill Clinton has been on Epstein's private plane numerous times, the Lolita Express, if you will. He admits that during one flight, Naomi Campbell happened to be there. This is a name that consistently comes up, but there's no damning evidence against Naomi Campbell. She just keeps coming up all the time. Bill Clinton states that it was all for philanthropic charitable work. Depending on your political views, depending on your view of powerful men abusing their positions, depending on your instinct, a lot of netizens have different takes about these types of responses. But nevertheless, he's like, it was all for philanthropy. I was just trying to save people. In the deposition, he's asked, because of the flight logs, they show that there are young girls on these planes. So when I hear young girls, I'm assuming that they're all of age, because they would have said underage, right? So the flight logs at least depict. And the pictures show that they're wearing tank tops and jeans. Who did he think they were? Is Epstein like, this is my assistant who is wearing a tank top and jeans to do philanthropic work? Why am I bringing this specific assistant to this trip? Who did you think they were? Bill Clinton?
I thought they were flight attendants.
Wow.
Do flight attendants typically wear tank tops and jeans?
They don't all wear uniforms on private planes.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true, right? But everyone's just kind of like, what? Even if they don't wear uniforms, they probably don't wear tank tops and jeans.
Yeah, this is such a dumb.
Then there's the viral photo of 22-year-old Shantae giving Clinton a neck massage at an airport. She was 22 at the time, and I do have to note that Shantae Davies has come out and said that Bill Clinton has been nothing but a gentleman in her experiences with him. She's been very outspoken of the abuse that Epstein had done to her along with Maxwell, but she never said that Bill Clinton was part of any of it.
Okay, my next question for you is, have you ever had contact with an individual by the name of Shantae Davies?
I believe Shantae, that's a distinctive name, and so I think that was the name of one of his flight attendants.
So, at this point, it's safe to assume that he knows who she is because, the picture went out. I'm sure he's prepped with his attorneys. He knows. He's further asked.
She's been described on being on a 2002 Africa trip and providing massages. Was she or any other young female on that trip underage at that time?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Did you ever receive a massage or have physical contact from her or anyone else on that trip?
You've seen the pictures. There was one time when I was sitting up and I got a back rub, a neck rub.
Okay.
And I think Shantae did it, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I didn't think it was anything unusual. I can't tell you how many airplanes I've been on where rich people asked me to go and they had someone offering a massage. All these boats that you go on and all that, they all do that. And usually I don't do that. I'm not into this.
Into what?
We don't know.
What is he saying?
Yeah, we don't know. And he later states that on this specific trip, his neck had, quote, had spasmed and I was in pain. So they offered to help and I let them help.
Do you think a young girl massaging a president is unusual?
So are you asking his opinion?
There's a little riff, and then his other counsel steps in. Objection calls for speculation. I figured, did you ever think that all these women around Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell was odd, unusual, weird, or creepy?
There weren't all that many around when I was there.
How many would you say is not all that many?
I think on this big plane that was working long hours, having 2 to 4 people on there, I thought was, as far as I knew, they were all helping.
Flight attendants in tank tops and jeans.
In a separate line of questioning, Bill Clinton does state that he wishes Shantae could have told him what was going on with Epstein because he really liked her, thought she was a good person.
I wish Shantae had told me. I liked her.
So, yeah. Then there's Maria Farmer. Maria Farmer is really important to this. It's like not said, but it's said, which is the fact that Maria Farmer has previously reached out to an FBI agent and stated that Epstein had stolen unclothed photos of her sisters who were 12 and 16 years old. This is back in like the 1990s. There is an active FBI report that was then of CSAM against Jeffrey Epstein. She also reported to the FBI agents that Epstein told her to go take photos of young girls at swimming pools, and if she did not comply, he would burn her family house down.
Whoa.
So Maria Farmer, she goes to the feds with this, and Bill Clinton is in office after. So there's this kind of unsaid but said, like, how are you, the most important person in the nation, not informed that there's at least some sort of investigation? So this is in the 90s. He was president from 93 to 2001. So there's this like not said, but said of, are we really to believe? Yes, you hung out with him before 2008, before we could Google his name. So you don't have the same problem that a lot of these other people in the emails have, which is like, how did you not Google this guy? Side note, Maria Farmer has also claimed that she saw Trump visiting Epstein's offices in 1995, and that Trump allegedly came into the office, hovered over her, stared at her bare legs, and that Epstein walked in and said, no, she's not here for you. And as the two men walked out, she alleges that she could hear Trump commenting that he thought she was 16 years old.
And I immediately was like, that's Donald Trump. What's he doing here? And just stood over me in a very imposing way and looked at me like he was in on some secret or something. It was really weird, like smirking, kind of. But he made a joke to Epstein, oh, I thought she was 16.
So the connotation being there that he was okay with that. She claimed that while she was being abused by Epstein, she saw Bill Clinton come to his house on 3 to 4 different occasions. Bill Clinton is adamant he only met Epstein when he was coming out of office, starting his foundation, and Larry Summers introduced them. He's asked, Maria Farmer was employed by Jeffrey Epstein and abused by him for a number of years, and she first reported her abuse to the NYPD and FBI in 1996. She states that she has personal knowledge that you visited Jeffrey Epstein's house 3 to 4 times while you were the sitting president between 1995 and 1996. So let me ask you, Mr. President, did you visit Jeffrey Epstein's house while you were president?
I do not remember doing that. I do not believe I did.
How do you explain this discrepancy?
Objection calls for him to speculate.
I can't speculate. But all I can tell you is I don't remember being there.
Okay.
During your presidency, were you ever made aware of the information that Maria Farmer provided to the FBI in 1996?
No, and no.
During the deposition, Virginia Giuffre is brought up. She has stated numerous times in sworn statements that she recalls Bill Clinton being on the island. And her diary reads, quote, Bill Clinton met 2 times, island, with 2 girls, CT, GM, and JE.
Whoa.
So CT, I don't know, GM could be Ghislaine Maxwell, and JE could be Jeffrey Epstein, right?
What is your reaction to that?
It's not true.
Bill Clinton starts getting a little combative,
Did she say that in her book?
This is from her personal diary that her family shared with us.
But the book came out more recently. Did she say that in the book?
I'm just reading you the entry from her diary that her family shared with me.
I think she ultimately reached a different conclusion, although I had no contact with her.
Did you know one of the witnesses who testified in the Epstein cases that Epstein said you, Bill Clinton, you quote, like them young? Why would Epstein say that about you?
First of all, that's not true.
What's not true?
That I have any interest in underage.
I didn't say underage, I said young.
But it's still not true.
Is an intern young?
So here comes Monica Lewinsky.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay.
At my age, anybody younger than I am.
Did you know Jeffrey Epstein instructed a witness to deny you were ever on his island?
He didn't have to, since I was never there.
Ghislaine Maxwell, we have a video of this, is sitting there with big old goofy glasses on her head. Okay, she looks crazy. And she just responds to everything. I would like to answer your question.
But on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
And she's asked, Ms. Maxwell, is it your intention to answer every question put to you by the committee today with the assertion of your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
This whole thing is like a bid for a presidential pardon. Even before the questions start, Maxwell's attorney states outright,
if this committee and the American public truly want to hear the unfiltered truth about what happened, there is a straightforward path. Ms. Maxwell is prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump. Only she can provide a complete account, and some may not like what they hear, but the truth matters. For example, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Ms. Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to hear that explanation. Thank you, members of the committee, for having us today. Ms. Maxwell can now proceed to answer her questions with the Fifth Amendment. Thank you.
Which a lot of people are upset by. A representative, Jamie Raskin, for Maryland, has since been very public about this, criticizing the DOJ, stating,
I think that the Department of Justice has been in a cover-up mode for many months and has been trying to sweep the entire thing under the rug. There's no way you run $1 billion international child sex trafficking ring with just two people committing crimes.
But according to the Clintons, the main reason that the Clintons continued to associate with Ghislaine was mainly because Ghislaine Maxwell was involved with two key people that were part of the Clintons' lives. Doug Band. This was, at the time, Bill Clinton's top aide. As evidenced by emails that Doug Band had with Ghislaine Maxwell, she writes to him, "Boo-boo, are you around? I am very ill and require immediate medical attention. I am suffering from boo-boo-titis." Yeah. No, I hate her. A very serious condition. Without a boo-boo fix, the symptoms become pronounced. Feeling is mutual, Doug Band responds. My boo-boo-titis is also reaching epic proportions. Lots going on, but we'll be in boo-booville the second you arrive. Then another one sent by Ghislaine Maxwell. Cries into the night that sound like Shakespeare's sonnets that sound like this. Oh Douglas, wherefore art thou, Douglas? Doug Band states that he never had any physical relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell and that she is a monster. That's not what you said when you went to Boo Booville, though. But he says there was absolutely no physical relationship that occurred between us ever. They were close enough that Ghislaine, according to the emails, tried to arrange and did purchase Doug Band a $35,000 AP watch for his birthday with Epstein. And she was asking Epstein, like, who should I say it's from, me or you? And he said, from us.
Wow.
Ghislaine, in her interview last year, said that she probably saw Bill Clinton probably around 2016. They had a dinner together. He confirms that it's been about a decade. And just like what Ghislaine Maxwell said about Prince Andrew, former Prince Andrew, she is insistent that Bill Clinton was her friend and not Epstein's friend. But Bill Clinton is like, none of us were friends. I don't know what anybody's talking about.
Oh, man.
We were friendly, but I didn't know him well enough to be saying we were friends. We did not know when Epstein was arrested that she was still involved with him. I think that clears a lot of this up. We didn't know. I'm sorry for what she did and what she allowed her life to become, and now she's living with it.
Then they bring up the birthday note, okay? They bring up Bill Clinton's birthday note for Epstein's 50th birthday. But Bill Clinton is asked, why did you write this letter?
Why did I? Because I was requested to contribute a nice letter for his birthday book. It's reassuring, isn't it, to have lasted so long across all the years of learning and knowing, adventures and errors, and still to have your childlike curiosity, the drive to make a difference, and the solace of friends.
He leans back, crosses his arms, and smiles.
Not a bad letter.
He's asked, for the record, you weren't referring to errors in judgment that Mr. Epstein had related to his inappropriate activities involving young.
Absolutely not. I knew nothing about that.
So he's just saying that it's just a shitty coincidence of word usage. There's a few more notes that Bill Clinton allegedly wrote to Epstein that he's asked about, which apparently Bill Clinton wrote a get well soon note to Epstein's mom on a Post-it. Not even like a fancy papyrus card that you have to pay $6 for. A Post-it. Epstein saved the Post-it. Bill Clinton is asked and he says, I mean, it looks like my handwriting, but I don't recall. But I will tell you this.
I have written get well notes to lots of people I did not know and had never met.
One of the notes that Bill Clinton also wrote to Epstein, he kept on his plane, and it reads along the lines of like, thanks for inviting me and letting me invade your private space. I'm exhausted and glad to get away from the crowd, and we will forge ahead. I'll finally figure out the financial stuff. Which all of it does seem on par with what Bill Clinton has been saying of like, oh, we were just going around for philanthropic efforts. So it's like when they bring these up, now it seems like, okay, what's happening? But you can tell where there are just certain topics where Bill Clinton and his lawyers, they don't seem to like to talk about it. And those notes are not one of those topics. However, the painting of Bill Clinton wearing what could be presumed as Monica Lewinsky's dress and sitting on the chair with his legs draped over, they give him a picture of that. So, Mr. President, we are looking at an image of you, a portrait that looks to be of you, Mr. President, in this blue dress. Can you describe this painting? His lawyer interjects. He doesn't need to describe the painting, you just gave him a picture. What's your question? Do you understand why someone would paint this? Objection, this calls for speculation. You can ask the artist. But Bill Clinton responds.
If I had known Jeffrey Epstein had this painting, it would have saved me this whole day.
Saying if he knew Epstein had this painting, he would have never associated with Epstein, and then he wouldn't be deposed right now. There are no emails suggesting that Bill Clinton ever visited the island, though we have late Virginia Giuffre's allegation that he was on the island. The Secret Service has indicated that they had not been to the island, and Bill Clinton does state that he has never signed off on Secret Service. So meaning that you would have to like sign off of like, I don't want Secret Service protecting me right now. So that would be the only time that he would potentially go to the island. Without Secret Service, and he has no record of signing off on Secret Service.
I see.
But he does admit that he did make a brief visit to Epstein's Manhattan townhouse, but he does not recall if Epstein was even there at the time. He was trying to phrase it as like, oh, I was walking with my friend, and they were like, oh, you know, Epstein, he lives right down there, and he's so proud of his house, which is this elementary school that's been converted, so we should go. We should just stop by and say hi, because he's a donor. He would love that, blah, blah, blah. They walk in. He's making it seem like we were asking like, oh, is Mr. Epstein home?
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. But he doesn't remember. Okay. But again, Maria Farmer was like, pretty sure I saw him in the house when he was a sitting president. But remember Epstein, he loved in his Manhattan townhouse, apparently to display pictures of young girls, young nude girls.
Yes.
Bill Clinton says you never saw anything like that. He says that he also never saw any staff members that were young girls inside the house. During your relationship at the time that you knew Mr. Epstein, what did you understand his job to be?
I'm not sure I knew. It was never clear to me, but he could have been living on investing the profits he'd already made. I knew he was his finance guy.
I would just like to ask you directly, do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself?
Do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself?
Are you asking him to speculate on how Mr. Epstein died?
I'm asking what the president thinks of...
So you're asking his opinion?
Mr. President, was your friend Jeffrey Epstein suicidal?
Are you classifying him as a friend who he has testified that he was friendly?
He has called him a friend in a letter.
He said he was friendly, but not. You've asked for his testimony.
Mr. President, do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein was suicidal?
Do you know?
Was he ever suicidal?
Best of your understanding.
I don't know. I only know what the medical finding was. I think maybe he finally got caught, and I don't know. I've accepted it in my own mind. I don't know what happened.
Mr. President, what did you accept, that he self-exited or that he did not? That he did, but I don't know. None of us know. We weren't there. Then Mark Middleton is brought up. The House committee states in the deposition and asks Bill Clinton, Mark Middleton was found dead at Hefner Ranch, approximately 30 miles from his home in Little Rock. He was discovered hanging from a tree by an extension cord around his neck with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his chest. So he was shot and on a rope. Do you have any information that leads you to suspect that he did something other than self-exit? No. Do you have any concerns that this was in relation to his knowledge or relationship with Jeffrey Epstein given the date? I'm asking, when you heard about this death, knowing about the things that have, at this point it's all over the news, seeing that he is self-exited, have you ever had any conversations with people about whether or not there's any relationship between the two?
Oh, no. No one's ever suggested it to me.
Okay. Thank you. I yield back. Next steps, Mr.
It's really sad.
A Democratic representative takes over questioning, and they open with,
It is well understood that you had a personal relationship with Mr. Epstein, and we will talk about that today, but the events I just described color our perspective on the conversation. It appears as if you and other Democratic figures have been targeted by President Donald Trump in an attempt to distract the American people from his own long-standing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And if that were true, it would not be the first time that President Trump has targeted his political enemies under the guise of law enforcement. This deposition is occurring in the context of unprecedented weaponization of the Department of Justice by Donald Trump.
this is the startling part. Bill Clinton is interestingly asked, so to get more information for this investigation was, wondering if you also agree that President Trump should answer questions of this committee.
We believe in the minority that President Trump should also answer this committee's questions. He's someone that is mentioned almost more than any other person beside Ghislaine Maxwell in the Epstein documents. And so to get more information for this investigation, was wondering if you also agree that President Trump should answer questions of this committee.
That's for you to decide, but he did know him well, and I once had a brief discussion with him about it. I hate this, but because I don't believe I should inject anything. But I do not want to leave the impression. The president never, this is 20-something years ago, never said anything to me to make me think he was involved in anything improper with regard to Epstein either. He just didn't. He just said we were friends, and then we had a falling out over a land deal.
Could I ask very briefly, Mr. President, if you recall what were the circumstances of that conversation, or at least let's start with when did that conversation occur? He says that Trump told him this on a golf course decades ago, saying something along the lines of
Somehow knew I had flown in Jeffrey Epstein's aircraft, and he said, we had some great times together over the years, but we fell out, all because of a real estate deal.
He says he doesn't recall who brought it up in the conversation first on the golf course, if it was him or Trump. He can't imagine it was him because he, would never do something like that. Do you recall whether President Trump elaborated at all on the great times that he had with Jeffrey Epstein? No. And I took, at the time, I didn't put any sexual stint to it.
I didn't put any sexual stint on it.
He later reiterates once more.
The only conversation I had with President Trump about this was in the early 2000s. And I have no information that he did anything wrong. I just want it all out there. I want everybody to get it all out there and let everybody see where we are.
With that being said, there's a lot on Trump. In July and August of 2025, the FBI internally circulated Epstein-related allegations that mentioned Trump. The FBI decided that they were going to compile a document of anybody who's even called in to give an allegation regarding Epstein and Trump. So they compiled this entire document, and on one side, they list what the phone call detailed, or the tip detailed, or the allegation detailed. And then in the middle, they detailed whether they were able to contact the person again to further interview them, whether they found corroborating evidence, or whether they found no evidence or proof that this was a lie. And then oddly, the third little box they have on the right side was any criminal history that this person has, the one giving the allegation. There could be some things in here that are true. There could be nothing in here that's true. All of it could be true. But just because it's in an internal document does not mean that we can believe everything. So one complaint summary on the internal note reads, caller named other individual named in a big orgy party with her, other young girls and older VS models, Victoria's Secret models, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. So now this is saying that they were all in some sort of
big orgy party.
Yeah, which, a lot of people have gone down with more memes of Big Beautiful Bill. Complainant reported participating in orgies and that some girls went missing, rumored to have been murdered and buried at a golf course. Complainant reported being threatened by Trump's then head of security that if she ever talked about what she saw or what happened, she would, quote, end up as fertilizer for the back 9 holes like the other cunts. She claims that she saw cartels involved in the parties and that she watched Robin Leach, who I believe is a reporter, strangle a young girl to death at a party. The FBI note deems her claims to not be credible. Complainant was spoken to and deemed not credible. Additional research showed 3 separate incidents involving police which requested in mandatory psychiatric evaluations. That's the internal note. Then another one, complainant reported Donald Trump participated regularly in paying money to force her to perform acts with him and alleged Trump was present when her uncle murdered her newborn child. Conclusion of the FBI was, quote, no contact made. Another caller believes that the FBI has pictures of her as a baby with Epstein. But the note that the agents made was, no contact made. Previous tips indicated she had called in and said she had chemically induced amnesia and struggled with knowing what was a dream and what was reality. I mean, I do hope that the FBI did way more internally for gathering whether this is credible or not than just, oh, she has chemically induced amnesia, because both things could be true, but we don't know. These are just internal notes. Another complainant tells the FBI, and this is from the internal note again, not stated as fact, Donald Trump, the president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called Calendar Girls. Jeffrey Epstein would bring the children in and Trump would auction them off. He measured the children's private parts by entering digits and rated private parts. The guests were elder men and included Elon Musk, Don Jr. Trump, Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump were all there. Attorney Alan Dershowitz was also there with attorney Bob Shapiro. We were taken in rooms, forced to have with Donald J. Trump, forced to allow them to assault. I was 13 years old when Donald J. Trump R-worded me. Ghislaine Maxwell was also present. The FBI notes, no contact information provided. Oh, they just move on. Again, these are unverified allegations. Caller reported that in 1987, a friend, victim 1, was out drinking and ended up at Trump Plaza. Victim 1 saw Donald Trump and wanted to meet him. An unknown man approached her and offered to introduce her to Trump. The unknown man gave Victim 1 a drink, and Victim 1 woke up naked and sore in bed with $300 on the bed. Victim 1 didn't remember how she got to the room. She remembered seeing a flash of Trump's face. Victim 1 called the caller and was like, I think that I've been R-worded. Victim 1 did not go to the hospital to have an R-word kit performed because she didn't think that anyone would believe her, especially because she was drunk. They later state that Victim 1 had a husband whose business had problems with suppliers, and Victim 1 believed Trump was behind it. Victim 1 also started dating a lawyer, identity is unknown, who was married. Victim 1 had a fight with her lawyer boyfriend and went to a bar. Victim 1 left a bar with a man who no one in the bar recognized, but who seemed familiar with Victim 1. Victim 1 was never seen again. A few years later, remains were discovered that matched the description of what Victim 1 was wearing when she went missing. DNA tests at the time were inconclusive. The FBI notes, no contact made, victim identified as deceased, and complainant do not have confirmed information. However, this next part is the real problem. NPR publishes an article alleging that the DOJ has redacted 50-something pages. And a House Oversight Committee ranking member, Representative Robert Garcia, states, yesterday, I reviewed those pages. I reviewed unredacted evidence logs that the DOJ oversight Democrats can confirm that the DOJ appears to have illegally withheld FBI interviews with a survivor who accused President Trump of heinous crimes. The White House response to this NPR article was in short, just as President Trump has said, he's been totally exonerated on anything related to Epstein. President Trump has done more for Epstein victims than anyone else before him. But the file is bad. So this is from July 8th, 2019, before Epstein dies in prison. Like a month before. And it's an FBI file. It's an FBI internal document where they're interviewing someone. At 1:43 p.m. Eastern Time, blank, redacted, contacted the FBI National Threat Operations Center to report an unidentified friend who may have been abused by Jeffrey Epstein in an unknown manner. Redacted states that she was recently informed by an unidentified female friend currently residing in Portland, Oregon, that she was forced to perform oral sex on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in the state of New Jersey. Redacted friends stated that she was approximately 13 to 14 years of age when this occurred. The friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing oral and described his, quote, heavy breathing. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting him. The FBI bring in the protected individual and she has a sit-down interview with them. She states that Epstein blackmailed her mom as well, that Epstein had unclothed photos of her and blackmailed her mom, and she had to, her mom, so this is what the victim is saying, like, Epstein was crazy, he was blackmailing me, he blackmailed my mom, and my mom had to embezzle money from the real estate company that she works for. She had to pay him to not release these photos. Later in the interview, it's noted that she recalled at least one incident in which he either drove or flew her to New Jersey or New York, and she was, quote, introduced to someone with money. It was Donald Trump. She later states he had money, it reeked off of him. She alleges that she could tell from the get-go that Trump did not like her because she dressed like a tomboy. She claims that Trump later asked everyone to leave the room and told her allegedly, quote, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be." Then she alleges that he unzipped his pants and pushed her head down and she, quote, "bit the shit out of it." The report then reads, Trump struck redacted victim and said words to the effect of, "Get this little bitch the hell out of here." Redacted advised she bit Trump because she was disgusted. The FBI report reads, Redacted got the feeling the relationship between Epstein and Trump included a certain amount of jealousy. She thought Trump appeared jealous of Epstein, but at some point they ended up on level playing fields. Trump and Epstein sometimes use the terms fresh meat, untainted, and not jaded while referring to girls. At the time she heard it, Redacted did not understand the term not jaded. She subsequently looked up the word jaded. Redacted states she had 2 additional interactions with Trump, but she asked for the interview to move on to a different subject for the time being.
What is unjaded?
Jaded is like, this is, okay, in this context, a lot of PDF files will say that they like young kids because they're so amused and not jaded by the world. Later, she states that after she bit him, the note reads, quote, "She provided further details that he pulled her hair and punched her on the side of the head." She also alleges, per the FBI report, that, quote, "Epstein liked having little rubber things put into his anus so that he had her do it, such as a pencil, a big eraser, little rubber things, a water bottle, all inserted down there into Epstein, and that instead of using lubricant, he preferred kitchen oil." Now, this interview is back from 2019. Now, the report continues. Epstein talked about blackmailing people in front of Redacted. Redacted was confident Trump knew Epstein blackmailed people because she heard Epstein and Trump talking about it. Redacted stated she knew Trump had illegal building permits. She heard Trump talking about washing money through casinos. Number 6 is Donald Trump's favorite number. Redacted was not sure how she knew that, but she had heard it at one point. One part of the FBI interview note reads, Redacted asked the agents to keep her safe, stating, "Throughout my life, Epstein's people have found me, have kept tabs on me," which Virginia Giuffre has also felt and expressed in her book before her passing. As of right now, these have not been proven to be credible allegations, which does not mean that they're not true. I would have no such information of that. However, one interesting thing to note again is that the FBI interviews this specific individual like 3 times. Which feels as if they're taking it very, very seriously. Then according to NPR, it doesn't really go anywhere because apparently someone in the FBI writes, one identified victim claimed abuse by Trump but ultimately refused to cooperate. So now the question with a lot of people is, did the investigation go nowhere because the allegations are untrue or because this victim does not want to cooperate? And that's why it led nowhere. The second accuser has 6 interviews with the FBI, and she claims that when she was around 13 years old, Epstein took her to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Trump, and that Epstein apparently told Trump, "This is a good one, huh?" She claims that both the men chuckled and she felt uncomfortable, but at the time she was too young to understand why. The weird part about this is that these are not included in the dump. These like 16-something pages come days, weeks later because of this NPR expose. They found out like through the way that the files were named and numbered. So there was like a big chunk missing. So they're like, what's the chunk?
So NPR exposed it.
Then the House committee representatives went into the unredacted file computer that they have access to. And they're like, I found the files. These are what they say. And then the DOJ was like, fine, I'll release them.
How did NPR get it?
So they were going through like the metadata of files. So they're like, something is like, this is weird. Yeah, so the DOJ, though, claims that the only reason that happened was the file was temporarily removed because it was flagged by a victim or their counsel for additional review, which a lot of people don't believe because they're releasing all sorts of crazy things. But the House Oversight Democrats state, let's be clear, this White House cover-up is ongoing. Millions of pages still remain concealed from the public and our committee. So with that is what's going on right now with the Epstein files. Those are the major news headlines. Stay safe. I will see you in the next one.